Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review. This is Match Reaction live after the game at St James's Park tonight, which finished Newcastle United 1, Aston Villa 1. And for me, it's absolutely bollocks. I mean, the starting lineup was bollocks, the formation was bollocks, and Steve Bruce has got away with one tonight. He's got away with a point when we should have got 3 points. And for me, this man has to be sacked, and has to be sacked this weekend. I'm finished with him. I'm done with him. I've had enough. You know, the way we played tonight, we didn't test the Aston Villa goalkeeper until we actually scored a goal. And, you know, let's face it, we were very lucky to get away with a point again, and we didn't deserve it. I mean, you look at the starting lineup tonight and you're thinking, where is the firepower coming from? Joe Linton doesn't want to shoot. It's like if he scores a goal, he's going to get his salary deducted, because he had loads of chances to shoot tonight, didn't bother. But don't get me wrong about Joe Linton, because tonight I actually thought he was one of our better players on that pitch tonight. And that is saying something. You know, when a good game for Joe Linton is like average for the rest of them. But we deserved nothing. And again, there's no desire, there's no urgency in that team. You know, we are struggling at the wrong end of the table in a relegation battle, and you wouldn't realise it. You're watching Newcastle at the minute, you wouldn't think they're in a relegation battle because there's no commitment, there's no battle, there's no fight. You know, John Joe Shelby again tonight, giving the ball away, just standing there when the ball's there, just sticks a leg in the air as if to try and say, oh, well, I went for it. No, you didn't. Put some heart and soul in. I mean, Steve Bruce's substitutions will always amaze me. It doesn't matter what happens on that pitch. He waits and he waits and he waits, and then he waited too long tonight. Again, Andy Carroll and Jacob Murphy should have been on way before they came on. In fact, Jacob Murphy should have started the game, and so should Andy Carroll. The amount of balls that we put into that box tonight, we should have had somebody like Andy Carroll to challenge for them, because we know Dwight Gale is powder puff. He gets a slight little knock and he's down. He can't stay on his feet. He can't challenge to win a header. Playing Fraser through the middle and Dwight Gale on the left. What is that all about? Somebody please come on them comments and tell me what that is about, because that is absolute bullshit. The only striker that we've got on the pitch, and he sticks him on the left-hand side. I don't care what formation we play. You don't play your only striker on the left. And you can come and say, you know, well, Wilson played, he was started on the right-hand side. Wilson is more dynamic. He's more powerful. He's quicker. Wilson can get into the area and get on the end of balls. Dwight Gale can't. But the crosses that we put in tonight were just crying out for somebody like Andy Carroll to come onto the end of it and head the ball. Or at least challenge for the ball. There was nothing like that tonight. And again, we find ourselves in this situation where we know what Steve Bruce is going to come out with. There was positives. Like he does every game, he'll come out and say there was positives in the game that we'll take on to the next one. You're running out of games, man. You can't keep doing this. And you can't keep bullshitting the Newcastle United fans either. I'm just fed up. He's got to be sacked. We need some kind of new impetus in that dressing room. We need somebody who's going to come in and give this team a lift, give the players a kick up the arse, the ones that need it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Because Aston Villa, they were terrible tonight. Aston Villa did not play very well at all tonight. And we, you know, again, like the West Brom game, like the Wolves game, we should have got more out of the game, but we didn't because of that manager and his inept mistakes that he keeps making throughout the game. He won't change the formation throughout the game. He doesn't change the game plan. All he does is, as soon as we fall behind with 3 minutes left, I'll stick Andy Carroll on, we'll just start hoofing the ball up the pitch again. It doesn't work like that, man. Save the Shark says, good evening to you, mate. Now, I'm a young and healthy guy, but after the final 10 minutes of that match, I may have a heart attack. Andrew, good evening. You can't just rely on defenders to get your goals. Yes, it's a point, but still not good enough. And the two of the subs was shocking. 2 points ahead of Fulham is not good enough. We need wins. Exactly. We are totally fucked. Carroll in midfield. What's Bruce thinking? We need goals, so swaps right backs. Makes subs far too late. He simply has to go and go now. Now, on the subject of the right backs, I mean, Emil Kraft wasn't injured tonight. There was no way he was injured. He was still playing football. He was still running around. He wasn't injured, but he made the change. He changed right backs. Why did he not bring Andy Carroll on that substitution? Christ almighty, man. It's easy for us as fans to see it, but this guy is supposed to be a massively experienced Premier League manager, or so the pundits say. And he keeps making mistakes and mistakes and mistakes week after week. And he keeps getting away with it. And the bottom line is he'll come out in his press conference or his interview after the game and say we deserve to, we played well, there's positives. You know, they're playing really well, there's desire there. No, there's not. Callum says we need to get Bruce out right now. Graham Veal said could be worse, should be better. It could have been worse. We could have lost the game. We did get a point. But it's not good enough. These are the games, when you look at our next few games after the international break, these are the games that we need to get 3 points from. Like West Brom, Wolves, Aston Villa, Brighton next week. These are the games we needed to win. I'm expecting my first heart attack. Who isn't? Michael says, Bruce is a coward. We should have had 6 points, but he plays for draws. Joe Linton and Gale out for Murphy and Carroll against Brighton. Yes, but Willie, because, you know, I mean, we can say Joe Linton out, but I thought he was one of our most effective players tonight. The one problem Joe Linton has is he's got no end product. And it's a real shame because when he plays like he did tonight, he battled hard, he worked hard, but his lack of desire to score a goal, there's no hunger there. You know, most players get in that penalty area and get in the positions he's in, and they want to shoot, just blast it at the goal. But every single time Joe Linton finds himself in that position, he's trying to pull the ball back. And it doesn't work. He's just got no confidence. Callum says we are doomed. We need him gone. I was crying when Clark scored that own goal. I mean, yeah, it was so unlucky for Clark. I mean, it wasn't really his fault, but it's just typical of the way that it's going for Newcastle at the minute. Murphy should have started. Totally agree. Layla says, are you happy with the draw? No. I mean, I am in the end of the day because, you know, obviously we were 1-0 down. In the last minute, we get a goal to equalise. Yes, you have to be happy with that we didn't actually lose the game. But, you know, come on. We never tested the keeper. You know, we had plenty of the ball. You know, but it's what you do with the ball. And we don't seem to be able to get on the end of these crosses. Dummett put some beautiful balls in the first half that were just crying out for a striker to head home. And again, because we saw powder puff up front, there's just nobody on the end of them. It's such a shame because there were some brilliant balls in. Could have been worse, but not that much worse. Should have been better and much better. Exactly. Paul, good evening. Back to relying on defenders scoring again. That's 2-2 for Lascelles. No quality in this side. Can't see us winning without Wilson, Miggy and ASM. Piss poor sub timings from Bruce. And this is what I mean about the manager. He's simply not good enough. You know, his decision-making during a match is terrible. And this just shows how inept Steve Bruce really is. Guys, if you enjoyed the show tonight, please do smash that like button. And also, if you're new to the channel and you enjoy what you see, please do consider subscribing. Also, as many people know, I'm trying to raise money for Parkinson's UK. I'm trying to get to about 650. So if you wouldn't mind... there is super chat available in the live comments. There's also PayPal, which I'll put on the screen. If you want to go through the friends and family on PayPal, you can do it that way. And that way, obviously, I get the full money towards the charity instead of YouTube taking 30%. But it's entirely up to you. I appreciate it if you can. And also, it doesn't matter if you can't. Don't worry about that. I'm just trying to raise money for that charity. So thank you very much in advance. Paul says, Paul, for Christ's sake, he's still going to be there. I know. And that's the worrying thing. I mean, we can say he needs to be fired all we want. It ain't going to happen. Adam said, can't wait for Bruce to be inspired by this game. He'll say something stupid. So as soon as he's been on TV, please do put in the live comments what he said, because I'd love to, just to have a laugh at it again. Graham says, Murphy should have started over Gale. No point in playing Gale out of position. He didn't learn, though, did he? He didn't learn from the Chelsea game. You know, he played Gale on the right-hand side, and he just was so ineffective. And he plays him on the left tonight, and the same thing happens. He's ineffective. Nothing happened. The game just drifted by Dwight Gale again. You know, he's just not effective in them positions. And yes, I've said many times that he's a championship striker. But when he's the only striker on the pitch, play him as a goddamn striker. Taylor said Joe Linton is scared to score. Yep. Ryan, let's hear of Bruce. We worked hard for a point. I mean, he'll come out with some crap like that. James said Villa were there for the taking. If the team selection had been better, Murphy and Carroll should have started. Yeah, again, it was all down to the team selection for me. When I looked at that team, when it came out at 7 o'clock, I thought, oh my God, one change from the performance against West Brom. It's not good enough, man. The players aren't. That formation is I think has ran its course. I would have gone 4-2-3-1 tonight or 4-4-2. Just go for it. We're in a relegation battle, and these are the times where we need to go for it and try and get something out of football matches. It's just pathetic. Shelvey was a disgrace. I couldn't agree with you more, David. I think he was terrible tonight. And I've praised him the last couple of games because I thought he's been half decent. But tonight, the amount of times he gave the ball away in the first half was absolutely shocking, to be fair. Josh says I'm in disbelief. Jason, I'm a neutral who subscribed to the channel. Cheers, buddy. But Bruce needs to go, as it seems like you are sleepwalking to the championship. I've said that for weeks, to be honest, Jason, that we're sleepwalking towards the championship. That's exactly where we're heading. And, it just breaks my heart at the minute because nobody in that coaching staff seems to realise the predicament we're in. And this Brighton game next week becomes even more important now to get 3 points, because if we don't, the games we've got coming up, we know we're not going to do anything, and we know we're not going to get anything from, because we've got all the top teams to play. Callum said he's unbelievable. I don't know how he manages this club. Graham, I thought Shelvey did well. I don't know what game you were watching, Graham, but again, it's all down to opinions, mate, and I value yours. If you thought he did well, then that's fine. Michael says Bruce must think Gale is one of these strikers that can play along the line like Mane. Bruce is shite, simple as. Yeah, I think he just doesn't have a clue. He doesn't have a clue. And I think, to be honest, most of it probably tonight is the fact that he panics. He's panicked tonight and thought, right, I've got a bit of, whiplash from last week by not playing a striker. So tonight I'll play a striker, but I'll play him out of position. I mean, the point of playing Fraser in the middle, I don't get, because he needs to cross the ball, But again, we had nobody on the end of the crosses, and that's what disappointed me. Aaron, good evening. Right back, sub for right back subs. Too late. Big shit house, Bruce. Yep. Callum says Shelvey shouldn't wear the shirt ever again. A disgrace. Paul says Shelvey was useless. Graham, Bruce is an okay journeyman manager, but to be safe, we need a brilliant manager. I don't think he's even a good journey manager now. I think he's had his time and he needs to go. He has got to go. I mean, Howie, we've seen it so many times over the last few weeks. He's got no excuses left as Steve Bruce. He's got none. He's just, every game just passes him by when he stands on that touchline and he's got his hands in his pockets and he doesn't change anything. He's not a proactive manager. Now, to get us out of the shit that we're in, we need a proactive manager who isn't frightened to make decisions. No matter what the players think, he's the manager. And if he's the manager and we should make a change or do something with the formation or tactically, then do it. But he hasn't got the balls to do it because the man is a coward. We know he's a coward. Joe Litton, big card horse, not worth a start. Well, I thought he was all right tonight, to be fair. Valerie, good evening to you. I totally agree with. Thanks very much. Paul said, did you see how pissed off Carroll was when he finally got to come on? I mean, how much will this annoy Andy Carroll? I mean, you've got to feel for the bloke. This club means a lot to Andy Carroll. We know it does. No matter whether you think he's finished or not, it still means a lot to him. He's a Newcastle born and bred fan. And to really take the piss out of him last week, like Steve Bruce did, to bring him on for 30 seconds. And then tonight, for the last couple of minutes, it's just not on. As soon as we fell behind, you knew what was coming. You knew that he would bring Andy Carroll on because that's how Steve Bruce works. 4-2-3-1 needs to be used now. Couldn't agree more, Michael. Jake said, becoming a habit for Bruce to make subs that has everybody utterly perplexed every single game. Every single game. The man has no excuse anymore. He just doesn't. Adam says, Bruce getting lucky again. 2 wins out of 19. Get him out now. There's the stat that says it all. That is the most important stat that everybody needs to look at. It doesn't matter about performances or, well, we did all right tonight. We did this, we did that. It doesn't matter anymore. That stat there, 2 wins out of 19 games, is what counts now. So I don't care what anybody else says about us playing decent or, this and that. It's 2 wins out of 19, and this manager still has a job. No way. Jason says, I would rather have Alan Shearer in charge. He needs to go. Yeah, but the problem is Alan Shearer wouldn't come back and work for Mike Ashley. We know that. I would love to have Shearer back as manager because he's black and white blood, and it's somebody that would inspire the players undoubtedly. But Mike Ashley still runs this club, and while that is still the case, we are not going to attract big managers. It's a shame because, there is certain Geordies out there who would love to manage the club. John said, I'm not a football manager, but I could do a better job. Out of form teams, we should be beaten. And that's the point. Villa did not play well tonight. Villa were poor. And Villa missed Jack Grealish. When he doesn't play, it's just like they're missing something. They're missing that tick over. He gets the ball from midfield. He drives them forward. And Villa missed that tonight. I'm very surprised Ross Barkley didn't start. But, in a way, I'm not bothered because he could hurt us at times, Ross Barkley. And, the fact of the matter is they missed Grealish. So Villa, in theory, were there for the taking. They didn't play very well. But we now have to start coming to the conclusion or the admission that we are just not good enough. Those players that were put out are not good enough. Or some of them aren't good enough. But then you can flip that around and say, well, we can't be good enough when he plays players completely out of position who've never played that position all season. And he doesn't learn his lesson, Steve Bruce. He didn't learn his lesson against Chelsea, playing Dwight Gale on the right. He tries him again on the left today, and it still has the same result. But this is what I mean. He doesn't change it. He doesn't make an effort to change it. Liam says, I'm a younger fan, and all I want is a manager who knows how to attack. Yeah, I feel for you young fans because obviously, I've lived through the times where we had Keegan, etc., and we were an attacking side, and it was fantastic football to watch. You always knew you were going to get excitement with Newcastle, and now it's absolutely abysmal. Ryan, good evening to you. A Chihuahua can bark more orders than Bruce. Exactly. Graham says, I'm not in the let's lynch Bruce crowd, but how does anyone look at the club history and think, that's the man for us? Because it's Mike Ashley, and it's always the cheap option with Mike Ashley, and it always will be. No matter how long this man is in charge of the club, it will always be the cheaper option. He will never, ever, ever go for a more expensive, ambitious manager because he doesn't have ambition. Michael says, Paul, I agree that Joel Linton did play all right, but we need end product more than anything. Yeah, exactly, and that's what I mean. It's all right saying, and I did put a tweet out earlier during the match saying that, it's all right saying Joel Linton did okay, but there's no end product. It's all right saying, we had plenty of the ball. We did okay in certain areas, but we didn't do anything with the ball. We didn't test their goalkeeper. And when you're in a relegation battle, to say that, it's a shambles. It's an absolute shambles. Gary says, as a Fulham fan, I was so pleased you got that goal. I don't want Bruce getting sacked. No, you won't. You will want Bruce to stay in the job, and you will fancy that come the end of the season. If it goes down to the last game, I know who I'd rather favour, and it won't be Newcastle United. And that's what pisses me off. You know what I mean? We've got to worry about it all coming down to the last game of the season. And, we're expecting Steve Bruce to inspire this team and give them confidence and motivation to go out and win the game. Can you imagine going down to Craven Cottage at the last game of the season and we need to win? No way will that happen because the manager cannot inspire these players. And I'm still convinced that half of this squad does not want Steve Bruce, does not want to play for him, do not understand the tactics he puts in, week out, if there's any tactics there at all. Keith says we need passion, not negative play. We need to get wins against teams like this. Exactly. Perfectly said. Michael says, no fans in the ground is saving his job. Can you imagine that full-time whistle tonight? In other games. Yes, we scored a last-minute goal, but what does it do for us, really? It doesn't really do anything for us. And it might turn out, at the end of the season against Fulham, that goal might well just save us. That 1 point may well just save us, but it also might not. But if we are going to play like this for the rest of the season, I'm afraid we are in big, big trouble. We are going nowhere but down. Ethan says, Carroll for Gale, Mankiewicz, Kraft, Murphy, Joel Linton. My changes for Brighton. Wouldn't risk Wilson. No, we can't risk Wilson because we need him. And if Wilson's not around for the rest of the season, then God help us because we will not score goals. We're going down this season without a doubt. Peter, good evening, mate. Still not good enough, mate. Also, watch out for another tactics sheet rip-up. I don't blame you, mate, because there was nothing there, was there? Again, we go behind and it's like, all right, I'll throw Andy Carroll on. And we were lucky tonight because we got a goal. It was a good goal, good header by Jamal Lascelles, but we shouldn't have to rely on our centre-backs to score us the goals. And that's what we've been doing recently. If Carroll was on the pitch, I swear he could have had a hat-trick of headers in that first half. Couldn't agree with you more. Ryan says, I disagree. People like Murphy, Carroll, Gale and Fraser can win games for us. No excuse. Murphy did brilliantly when he came on. I thought Murphy was fantastic when he came on. He changed the game in a way. He really did. He looked positive. He put some good crosses in. And I don't understand why he wasn't in from the start. And I don't understand what he has to do to get a game from the start, because Murphy, for me, this season has been fantastic whenever he's been on the pitch. Jake says, really, Jimmy, you want another London club in the league? Exactly. Villa played utterly terribly all game. Carroll could have gotten at least a brace and built up some confidence. Ryan, thank you very much for the super chat, mate. I really, really do appreciate that. Thank you very much. That'll go straight towards the Parkinson's charity. Thank you. Layla says, if Fulham beat Manchester City, we are in the relegation zone. He squares it all the time. Yeah, I mean, this is the point. We've got a point tonight. However, if Fulham do pull off a fantastic result, and let's face it, if they do beat Man City, it'll be the result of the season for them. But they will go ahead of us. And that's why a point for me wasn't good enough. Mark says, would you take Chris Wilder as manager now, Paul? No, I wouldn't. I'm not inspired by Chris Wilder at all. I know he's done really well at Sheffield United. Bless him. He's done a great job getting them to where they were. Had a good season last year, but he doesn't really inspire me. That's just my opinion, though. A lot of people might think he is a decent manager to come in and maybe save us, but at the minute, not for me. Gordon, good evening. Evening all. When Murphy come on, he should have started. I'm not a fan of Joe Linton. Played well also. Apart from that, we need Wilson and ASM back as soon as possible. I'm going for a win versus Brighton. I'm pleased you're positive, Gordon, but I don't know where the win's going to come from because we need goals. I know Brighton is struggling for goals as well, but we all know we've seen it this season. You know, when we've gone against teams that are playing badly, that are struggling for goals, suddenly they score against Newcastle United. And that's what's been the case. Bruce's sackless Gale on the left. Murphy should have been on from the start. He needs sacking. We all know he needs sacking, but I really, really doubt he is actually going to be sacked. And I've said for a while now that looking at this international break that's coming up, that maybe, just maybe, Steve Bruce will be fired after the Brighton game if we don't get a result down there. And that would give the new manager time to come in, get his feet under the table, you know, during the international break and try and get the players that he has at his disposal, you know, into the new system and what he's trying to buy into. And hopefully the players buy into it as well. But then again, on the flip side of that, is Mike Ashley really bothered? Because I'm convinced he's not. Ethan said, probably one of the best interviews I've seen Bruce do so far. Decent interview. Really? Why we cannot have a lineup where Wilson leads from the front and supported by ASM, Miggy and Fraser Murphy and Hayden supporting from behind in front of defence. Get John Joe out of that group. Liam says that Hayden is our best player. I actually think Hayden has been quite poor the last 3 games. He hasn't... I mean, when I say poor, I mean he's not living up to it. He's not playing to his normal high standards. I'm not saying he's been, you know, one of our bad players. I'm saying he just hasn't really, for me, been a standout player. But what you get with Isaac Hayden is you get a job every time he goes on the pitch. He'll do a job for you, whether he's in form or out of form. He'll still put tackles in. He'll still win the ball, and that's kind of what we need from Isaac Hayden. Just to sit in front of the back 4 and give it to the more attacking players and let us go. But the shackles are on. Bruce puts the shackles on everybody. It's still a bad result, but I'll get brushed aside because we scored in the last second. He still started his striker out wide and brings his subs on with absolutely no time left. Aaron says subs are right back for a right back with big shithouse. Bruce and Joe Linton not fit for a start. He's a cart horse. Again, your opinion, buddy. Totally respect that decision. Paul says, do you think the draw saved Bruce's job? If so, it's a bad result. Hope Man City beat Fulham. Was Joe Linton okay tonight? Yes, I think Joe Linton played okay tonight. As for the goal saving Bruce's job, I honestly think even if we'd lost that game, I don't think Bruce would be sacked. I'm only hoping that, you know, if we don't get a positive result at Brighton next week, it might be the trigger pulled then. Joe Linton's overall performance today was good, just lacks in confidence in the final third. When you lack confidence, you'll take extra touches. Yes, but we can't do that now, Ethan. That's the problem. We can't have players who are lacking in confidence when we're in a relegation battle. We need players who are confident in front of goal and are going to smash the ball for that goal whenever they're in the penalty area. We can't afford to have players lacking confidence now. We need them out on the pitch firing at that goal. Bruce sees his convinced. Yeah, he's always said that, but I don't know where that conviction from Steve Bruce comes from. I really don't want to say this, but Bruce has got us relegated already. I can see it. A lot of fans feel the same. A lot of fans feel that we're down now. Fraser played in the middle to press, simply the closest player to Almiron. That's why he's playing him in that role. Well done, Lascelles, though. It doesn't matter. You know, for me, you can't play Ryan Fraser in the middle. We need Andy Carroll through the middle, and we need Fraser on the wing to put the crosses in. It was just crying out for him in that first half, especially the first half. Aaron says we're a standard championship team, and it's sad to say. It's awful, isn't it? I mean, it really is awful to see our club in the predicament it's in. For a third time under Mike Ashley, we are battling and looking like we're going to get relegated. Because Fulham will be confident. Let's not beat around the bush here. And Brighton will be really up for it next week. They know how important that game is. And let's not forget, Brighton plays some lovely football under Graham Potter. They really do. And that is a problem for us, because I know that they haven't scored a lot of goals at the minute, but Graham Potter has got them playing excellent football. And they can play around us all day long. And if push comes to shove, their strikers are suddenly find the net, it'll give them the world of confidence, and it could take a very, very nasty turn at Brighton next week. I hope not. I hope Bruce has learned a lesson from tonight and plays the players that should be playing and in the proper positions. This is the problem with Joe Linton. When you think it's a good performance, just because he didn't give the ball away as much, your standards are low. Standards have to be better in the Premier League. Kobe says we needed an out-and-out striker. Why take Fraser off for Murphy, man? Carroll should have came on way earlier. Completely agree. Joe Linton was fine. Kraft and Shelby aren't good at all. Emil Kraft, I mean, he did all right tonight. I mean, he didn't really make any sort of... They didn't really go at Emil Kraft like other teams have in the last few weeks, which I was really surprised about. You know, managers that do the homework should realise that is one of Newcastle's really, really, really weak points, is our right back when Emil Kraft's on the pitch. Murphy came on and changed the game. If Bruce doesn't start him next, that'll be the final nail in the coffin for me. Awful decisions taken at awful times in the match. Absolute shithouse. Said it, couldn't have said it better myself. Joe Linton was decent at everything until he got in the box. Confidence has gone poor bugger. Exactly, but we can't afford to have players in that team with no confidence. We need players in the team who are going to be fully motivated and are going to actually shoot the ball. You know, Joe Linton could have had a couple of goals tonight, just like he could have last week had he pulled the trigger. But no, he's looking up and he's thinking, he's almost scared to shoot. He'd rather pull it back and let somebody else take the blame for missing. Mark says, if you go down, then ask Leeds if you can loan Bielsa for the season. He'll bring you straight back and sort these players out. Yeah, I mean, we need a manager who's going to install a bit of confidence in the dressing room, a bit of passion, a bit of aggression. You know, when you're in a relegation fight, you have to show some sort of aggression. And we don't get that from Newcastle United at the minute. And that's what really pays me off. You're seeing them just jogging around and passing it slowly around, and there's no desire there. There's no fight. Bruce is a bloody fossil of a manager. 29% win rate, worst of the worst of NUFC managers. Yeah, Keeping the Toon says last 19 games, 2 wins, 4 draws, 13 losses. There again is the stat that everybody needs to realise and everybody needs to look at and think, my God, we are in so much shit. It is unbelievable. That is a relegation record right there, and it just does not look like it's going to get any better. Sean says the man is an arsehole. Bruce subs to late. I mean, his substitutions are just abysmal. They've been abysmal for a while now. Michael says there's also 5 draws in that 19, which makes it even worse. You know, I mean, for me, I mean, it's you know, Philip says there more, you know, ex-players blowing smoke up Steve Bruce's arse. You're always going to get that now. You're always going to get the Bruce fan club. And I just don't know what game they watch or whether they're paid by the TV companies to actually praise him. It astounds me, some of the crap they come out with. And they look like fools on the TV praising somebody like Steve Bruce. You know, a man who has slagged the fans off, who has had arguments with the players. Yet this man still gets praised off the pundits. Or some of them anyway. Some of them are starting to wake up and realise what a fool they're making of themselves. But for the likes of Joe Cole, etc., saying things like that, it honestly, they're just so embarrassing. And surely they'll look back on the TV and think, oh my God, Newcastle were absolutely dreadful. And I've gone and said that on national TV. What an absolute tit I am. Aaron says, I don't know how Joe Linton gets a game. Luke says, everything you're saying, Paul, I agree with you. Thanks very much, mate. Appreciate that. Michael says, Bruce has been a manager for decades, but still can't put players in correct positions. I mean, this position thing, I really can't understand why Steve Bruce wants to put players out of position. He's trying to keep the club in the Premier League. Now, if he keeps us up, it'll look good for him. We know he's absolutely shite, but on his CV, it'll look good for him because he's kept us in the division. And that's what Mike Ashley's asked him to do. That's his remit. Whether we like it or not, that is Steve Bruce's remit, to stay in the Premier League. So if he pulled that off, it'd be a coup for him. However, I don't understand why he wants to play players out of position, because it's just not going to work for him. Aaron says it's not the manager, it's Fat Ashley. Yeah, I mean, the manager does take the brunt. He's got to, because of the play. Mike Ashley did not pick that team tonight. Mike Ashley does not decide on the substitutions. You know what I mean? So it's there you go. Steve Bruce said the goal that Villa scored was a fluke. The one thing you have to show is desire. We at least deserve that. There he goes again. There wasn't any desire. Kendall says our standards are so low. Yes, they are. I mean, if Steve Bruce is coming out and saying stuff like that, the desire was there. It's not. If the desire was there, we'd be banging into tackles. We'd be nipping into everything. We'd be trying to be first to 50-50 balls. There's nothing like that on the pitch. Come on, let's wake up here. Kendall says a lucky draw at home. That's a good game for Bruce. Well, exactly. I mean, Joe Cole, Newcastle have got the right man. How can we have the right man when we're in the relegation battle? Seriously. Wake up and smell the coffee, Joe Cole, and get your nose out of Steve Bruce's arse, please. Neither teams played well, deserved the point because they were just as bad. John Joe didn't want the ball the full match, so many bad passes. Yeah, he was back to his normal John Joe Shelby tonight. Totally agree with you, mate. Ashley there, Bruce there, Chuckley there, no hope. Absolutely not. Murphy isn't a class player, but at least he tries and has a pop. Too many passengers. That's what I like about Jacob Murphy, is he's not frightened to take players on. He's not frightened to have a shot. Whether he balloons it, 60 feet over the bar, it doesn't matter. At least he's trying to score. He hit the bar tonight as well. Had that gone in, it could have been a different game. But at least that guy wants to try and score goals, whereas the rest of them, we've got a powder puff strike force who don't want to shoot the ball. As a Leeds fan, love watching your channel. Real passion. Feel for you guys. We've had PE teachers in charge of our team. Still think you'll be okay. And never season will be better. Next season probably is he means by that. Not under Steve Bruce. I think, the way we're playing at the minute, if we kept Bruce and we stay in the Premier League by some miracle, I think we'll finish bottom. Graham says we can't play like this. Maybe if Miggy, SM and Wilson come back, we'll be all right. Yes, but we don't want to risk them coming back. For me, that's what Bruce has done all season. He's brought players back too early. They haven't been fit and they've picked up another injury. And you've got to blame that on the facilities that we have as well. I mentioned that in one of my live shows during the week. The training facilities are abysmal. And that's why we're probably picking so many injuries up as well. And his training regime, remember, 3 days a week. Come on. Is Joe Linton the only striker in the world that doesn't want to shoot? Probably. Kendo says we may as well rename our team the Cleveland Steamers. Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Murphy looked great, agreed. Paul says a draw at home, scoring with the last kick against a team without their best player is Bruce's standard. He would be on the Bucks fizz tonight. Yeah, he will. He'd be celebrating. He'd be thinking he's done his job tonight. And that's how far we've fallen, really, isn't it? When we draw 1-1 at home against Aston Villa and we think it's, we've got a manager who thinks it's a good point and there was desire there. That's how far we've fallen. Murphy done in more in tonight's game than the whole team has done the past two. Completely agree. Imagine Sir Bobby Robson. He'd be spinning his grave. He'll be breaking his heart, Bobby, wherever he is now. He'll be looking down and thinking, Jesus Christ, what has happened to this fantastic football club of ours? It's just not the Newcastle United that Sir Bobby knew. That's a certainty. Thank you very much for the super sticker, £5. I really do appreciate that. Guys, if you want to donate to the channel, I'm putting the money towards Parkinson's UK. So you can either hit that super chat button, or as you can see on the screen, you've got my PayPal address there if you want to go through friends and family on PayPal and donate that way. I really do appreciate it. And on Monday, I will be releasing a competition of how you can, well, it's more like a raffle of how you can win an Alan Shearer Newcastle United shirt donated by Paul, one of my subscribers. It's an old Newcastle shirt. It's brand new, but it's an older shirt with Shearer 9 on the back, and I will be putting that up, giving you more details on the Monday night's Four Horsemen show. David says anyone else is better than Bruce. Yeah, they are. 4-2-3-1 with Carroll up front would have wrecked that Villa team tonight. Yes, exactly. But this is a problem. Bruce is a coward. He won't change his ways. He won't change his ways for anybody. You know, and I don't believe that the players as well, that they're not having a word with Steve Bruce saying, right, Steve, we really need to do this or we need to do that. And if they're not doing that, then the one shooting was shit, quite honestly, because the players can't be happy with the way we're playing or the formation that Steve Bruce is putting out. It's ridiculous. And it really pees me off. Emma says, no intensity since the Everton game. Bruce out. Players are only half-arsed. We play terrible football. We do play terrible football. And what we also do is we only train 3 days a week. We're not fit. You know, again, you know, loads of comments on Twitter during that first half saying that the players were blown hard after about 25 minutes. The same happened last week against West Brom. You know, we gave it a go for 20 minutes and then we just steamrolled out again. And the fact that what paid me off against the West Brom was the fact that they played Thursday against Everton with the same 11, yet still had more energy than us in the second half last week. But Bruce won't change his ways. He just won't. Half disappointed we got the draws. It saves an early sacking. Like I said, Kendo, you know, I don't think he would have been sacked anyway. I don't care how many players Joe Linton can fight off. I'd rather have 8 stone Matty Longstaff because it's all about quality and end product. Agreed. And that's something that Joe Linton is. I don't know why it doesn't work on the final ball. I really don't. I mean, I said, you know, last week in one of my live shows that I would love to see, you know, Joe Linton staying back for an hour after training and working with where he's just getting a couple of the kids, getting a youth goalkeeper and somebody else just to pass in the balls and practice cutting in and actually leathering the ball, really firing the ball in towards the goal. Because even when you're cutting in like Joe Linton does, just shoot, because the keeper may make a save. It may come out as a rebound. You know, anything could happen if you shoot on goal. You will never score if you don't shoot the ball and try and take the opportunities. Kendo says Hayden looked like he was carrying a sack of spuds on his back. Yeah, I don't know whether he's struggling with an injury, you know. I've thought this for a couple of weeks. I think he's struggling with an injury. He just doesn't look fully fit. Hayden was shit today. He kept getting himself on the left wing. He can't cross or pass, and he's the slowest player in the league. He needs to be protecting our defence. Well, like I say, I don't know if there's an injury there. Hayden is meant to be injured, but it says something when he's ahead of others. Either he's still better than others when injured, or Bruce is an idiot. Well, Bruce is an idiot, full stop. Glad we got the point, but disappointed we didn't win. I'm furious. I mean, yes, I'm happy we scored and got a point out of the game, but you know, like I've said before, we needed to win this game. These are the games, these run of games: Wolves at home, West Brom, Aston Villa, and Brighton. These are the games that we really need to pick a lot of points up from, given who we've got after the international break. But we're not getting the points that we need. And yes, Fulham play Manchester City tomorrow. It's everybody expects Man City to win that game. You know, Fulham would put off a miracle if they win that game, but they'll still be up for the next after that. Scott Parker will know how Man City are playing. He'll know that they could go and get beaten and beaten heavily, but he'll be looking forward past that. You know, they will not stay up from tomorrow's result against Manchester City. It's going to be the other results after the international break that are going to be important to Fulham, because they'll know that Newcastle have a difficult run as well. Brighton have the hardest run in for me, but you know, if Brighton beat us next week, that puts them, you know, a few points ahead of us, and we could be in real shit if we lose next week. We need Bruce to get real and realise that this is a battle. He hasn't got the respect of the players. Quickly, they aren't playing for him, and we need to get real and demand change. And I'm sure if we were in the ground, then we would really, really, really be pushing the manager. And I think the atmosphere in the ground would be so toxic, then Mike Ashley wouldn't be able to do anything. I mean, it'd be the same case as what happened to Steve McLaren. And we all know what happened with him. It just turned so sour. And, you know, it would be like that. It'd be so toxic at St James's Park. James says after the Brighton game is too late. We need a decent manager before that. If we don't beat Brighton, I think we are done. Most people in these comments could set a team up better than Bruce. Exactly. And it says something. You know, we all know the team that should have started tonight. We all know the players that should have been on the pitch from the start. But our manager thinks very different. And the problem is our manager is such a stubborn bastard, he won't change it for anybody. Because he's the head honcho and he doesn't want to change it for absolutely nobody. A hitman will get rid of Bruce. Yeah, we'll not go down that route. Ethan, you're right. Joe Linton doesn't have confidence, but why is Bruce constantly playing him, meaning he has more pressure to perform and scores each game passes? Another example of shite management. And it is. I mean, Joe Linton, you know, like I've said before, I think he was one of our better players tonight for once. I really do. But, you know, the final product isn't there. And when we're in this situation, we need somebody to put the ball in the back of the net, and who's got the confidence to put the ball in the back of the net. It's no use saying, oh, well, he got into good positions, things like that. It's the final product that counts. It's the shots on goal that counts. The ball needs to go in the back of the net. And it pisses me off. Kendo says, well, I blame them all. That's now our number one priority. Exactly. Yeah. Number one priority is to find them all. It's not the relegation battle, Steve. Dummett had a great game. He did. I like Paul Dummett. I think he's a sound defender. I think he did very well. And I've been critical of Dummett in the past for not being able to cross the ball and get forward. But tonight, especially the first half, some of the balls he was putting in were just crying out for somebody like Andy Carroll to just leap in the air and nod them balls in the back of the net. They were fantastic crosses. But again, powder puff up front, we've got nothing at all. And that's why we didn't score. Could Jones replace Bruce? He seems to have the passion. I wouldn't mind Graham Jones coming in, taking over as head coach, because I've said it before, the players have respect for Graham Jones. That is clear and obvious. And Jones looks like he can motivate them. I wouldn't say Jones is a long-term manager at the club, but between now and the end of the season, yes, without a doubt, I'd give him a shout. Leon says, have to be concerned about Brighton now, not Fulham. Brighton can't score at least. Yeah, they can't, but they play us next week, and you can bet your bottom dollar that they probably will, because they do play some lovely football. Keith says, no fight in the team. Is he bothered when he gets fortunes for ruining our club? He's not bothered. He never will be bothered. The way we play all year, we better go down. Boring, no ideas, nothing, championship club. And that's how we're acting at the minute. We're acting like a championship club. This is a championship squad as far as I'm concerned. When you take the players out like Miggy, like ASM, Wilson, etc., we're left with a championship squad. And that's my worry. If we go down, we're going to have a lot of players leave this club in the summer. Players are out of contract. We know there's a lot of players out of contract, but also the big name players, like the players I've just mentioned there, they will not want to play in the championship. And Mike Ashley would be rubbing his fingers together thinking, oh, well, we'll get millions for them. But I tell you what, he'll not get as much for the players as he thinks he will. The thing is, we all know that Bruce is a dinosaur and is not a football manager. Why can't Ashley see this? I guess has not watched Newcastle this season. This sounds very strange. He won't have watched us very much. We know Mike Ashley's been doing other business. Newcastle United has not been a priority for Mike Ashley at all this season. And, Lee Charnley is very rarely seen. He doesn't do anything either. And quite frankly, with these guys in charge, we've got nothing. We've got no hope at the moment. And I think that's what upsets the Newcastle fans more than anything, is the fact that there's no hope. There's no future. We can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's just very dark at the minute. And there's nobody who is trying to give us that belief. He's so scared to lose. He plays for draws when we need to win. Putting himself before the club is gutless, plastic, mac and prick. You know what it is? He does. He sets us up not to lose games. And when you're in a relegation battle and you're needing points, you have to take chances. You have to take risks. And it would have been a risk, yes, to go something like 4-4-2 tonight. But after watching how Villa played, 4-4-2 would have got us so much further up the pitch and more into dangerous places by playing two strikers. But he could have had two strikers on the pitch and probably played them as wingers. And that's the difference. He probably would have played them as wingers, not strikers, and left us in an awful situation. Newcastle looked all right when all their better players are playing. Bruce only gets overly cautious with an ASM, Almiron, Wilson are out. Get why your fans are frustrated. Do you know what? Even when they've been playing, we still haven't looked out and out brilliant going forward, because Steve Bruce puts the shackles on because he wants to think about defence more than he does attack. And the situation we're in now, we need to attack. What is your name on here, lad? I don't know what you mean by that, Jonathan. It's the Toon Review. Like I say, if you'd like to make a donation towards my Parkinson's UK charity, you can buy that PayPal address there. If you want to go through friends and family on PayPal, use that email address, please. Or you can donate by hitting the super chat button at the bottom of the comments section that you're watching now. David says, great show, Paul. Thanks very much, David. Taylor said, Carroll started, we would have won. I genuinely believe that, because after seeing the crosses that we put in throughout the game, I genuinely believe now that watching that game, if Andy Carroll played, he would have got a couple of goals tonight. And again, you can say things like, oh, he's past it, all of this. he's the one option we had tonight that could have made a difference. Because Dwight Gale, for me, he's done. And Andy Carroll is good in the air. I don't care what anybody says. He'll cause defenders a nightmare. He'll always be on the back. And the defenders will know that he's there. Even Paul, Villa shithousing again. You can't hang your hat on players returning, Joe Linton, etc. Needs coaching properly. Yeah, but we haven't got a coach to do that. Look at poor Jamal Lewis. Absolutely fantastic for Norwich City last season. Brilliant in a poor Norwich side that were easily relegated. And this season, he just looks a shadow of that player. And that comes down to the coaching. He's a young lad, moved from his home, up to the northeast. And what have we done? We've let him rot. It's absolutely disgraceful. How many points does a team need to stay up? It could be anything this season, David, to be honest. I mean, if you look at the relegation battle and some of the results that have happened this season, it literally could be anything. A lot of people are saying 30 points, 35 points, and you just don't know because the way this season has gone with teams beating other teams, it could be anything apart from us because we're not like that. We just lose or draw. 2 wins in 19 games. That says it all. And I'm just sick. I'm sick of watching Newcastle because it's so boring to watch. You want to get excited and you think in a relegation battle, you'd actually see a team that would go out and attack and go out and try and win some football matches. But we don't. And all the fans are getting fed up now because we just don't see that from Newcastle. Joe Linton should have smashed it at the near post like Minamino versus us instead of passing it to Villa defenders. Again, we know that. It doesn't want to pull the trigger for some strange reason. Bruce should be getting Joe Linton to stay behind with Gillespie and have a defender mentor, Lewis, and help him learn how to defend. Brilliantly said, Michael. But that's not Steve Bruce's remit. That's not what he's all about as a manager. He doesn't coach. I mean, he's very rarely on the coaching field, to be honest. And he gave that away in his interview when he was talking about the Matt Ritchie situation, saying that Matt Ritchie needed to come into his office while the training was going on. Why was Steve Bruce in the office and not on the pitch with the players? But only training 3 days a week does not give the players the intensity. We need intensity in this team. From the first whistle on a football match in a relegation zone, you need to see intensity from your football team. And we are not seeing that. We're not seeing it at all. And it has to be a massive worry for us as fans because we're watching our team just slowly drifting away. Aston, Gale and Fraser. Steve Bruce said, we've played a certain way for a few weeks now, split strikers. I wasn't going to change it. We switched Ryan and Dwight after half time. Well, no, you didn't because Dwight Gale was on the left in the second half. See, he doesn't even know what he's doing during the match. He comes out and says something completely different after the match that didn't actually happen because Dwight Gale was on the left-hand side. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Dummett and Manquillo is the way forward in the back four. Get them on the pitch with the Longstaffs and Gale. Fuck Bruce. Gale, for me, he doesn't inspire me. It's not. Dwight Gale is not the player that I want to see on the pitch. Well, there you go. Look at that. Isn't that absolutely disgraceful that a manager is still in a job with a run like that? I mean, how? I'm absolutely disgusted. I am. We're a club with no hope or desire. Shelby is so frustrating to watch. He is because we know what he can do. When he really switches his brain on and he's involved in the game, we know what John Joe can do. But tonight, especially the first half, the amount of times he was getting that ball and giving it away so much. I mean, frustrated is not the word. We could be back to derby days next season if there isn't a major change. We talked about that with Holly last night about the chances are that we may well get a North East derby in the Championship next season. I mean, God, how awful would that be for us? Not for the Mackhams because they'll be happy they got promoted. As a Villa fan, you deserve the win. We played fucking awful. Thanks for the comment, Joel. Villa didn't play very well. And even there you go. The fans are admitting that they didn't play very well. And I know for a fact that somebody commented on John's watch-along that they'd watched a Villa watch-along as well. And they were absolutely disgusted with the way they played tonight. And the fact is, we couldn't beat them. It's just rotten, man. Great show as always. Thanks, Jules. This is a great show. I'll make a habit of tuning in. Thanks, Graham. I hope you subscribe, mate. Thank you very much for that comment. Michael says, I'm sick of this aiming for points total. Bruce was doing that 3 months ago. He should be trying to go and get every game and put up a decent effort at least. Yeah, I just don't understand how the manager doesn't go out and actually inspire these players to say, look, guys, this isn't where this club deserves to be. This isn't where you as players deserve to be. Whether you believe in the players or not, you should be going into that dressing room and saying, right, guys, we do not deserve to be here. You are players that are too good to be in this situation where the club is right now. Big the players up before they go out. Make them feel 10 foot tall. But he doesn't do that. He bigs the opposition up. And this has been the problem all season with Steve Bruce. He bigs the opposition up and he won't ever big his own players up. Make them feel 10 foot high when they go out of that tunnel saying, right, we are going to do this. We are going to win this game. We're a club with no hope or desire now. So frustrating to watch. Shelby needs to go. He's driving all fans mental. Yep, he certainly is. We've got about 10 minutes of this show left, guys. So if you are wanting to donate, as I say, there's my PayPal address on the screen now. And you can also go through Super Chat. If you do go through PayPal, then it is just through the friends and family system they've got on there. Thank you very much. Ken said, you must be exhausted, Paul. You're doing a great... The comments, big thumbs up. Thanks, mate. It is, when... I mean, I've got... like between 140 and 160 watching, which is fantastic. Thank you to everybody that's watching. It's brilliant. I am trying to go through as many comments as I can. I am putting them up on the screen as well, so I'm not missing any out. So if I don't read any out, they'll still go on the screen. But yeah, it's hard work sometimes. But I love having the interaction with the fans, especially after games, because it gives me an idea of how you guys are feeling as well. Man, I just remember True Geordie's video where Rafa left and he said, what happens to NUFC now? We fall apart. I mean, all the good work that Rafa did when he was here. I mean, I don't like making comparisons to Rafa. I don't like doing it. But, you have to say that all the good work that was done by Rafa, trying to, stabilize the club, etc., it's just been washed away like a tsunami now. It's just gone, which is such a shame because, such a great guy like Rafa did, loved this club. And that's the hard point. Thank you for reading my comments, says Cal. No bother, mate. Kendo says all of Bruce's points were lucky at best. I remember when Van Dijk was asked about first training at Liverpool, Klopp had him running and not touch a ball, and you can see that in all their players. Wish we had a manager half of Klopp's ability. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you think Liverpool are doing well or not at the minute. Obviously they were bound to hit a rough patch at some stage. But when you actually see the fitness levels of other teams in the Premier League, it makes a mockery of ours, an absolute mockery. Steve Bruce said, we hit the bar, and for me, had the best opportunities. The number of times he got down the sides of them and missed the pass or lacked the final bit of quality was disappointing. How many times has Steve Bruce said that this season? How many times has this Muppet come out and said that the quality up front was disappointing? Yet you decide to play your only striker that you've got on the pitch on the left-hand side. What do you expect, Steve Bruce? What do you expect when you're playing players out of position? The one thing I'm really pleased was their desire. Oh, shut up, Steve Bruce. Talking about bloody desire. What desire? Did anybody honestly see desire tonight? Because I certainly didn't. You would not get a neutral fan who hadn't watched Newcastle this season sit down and say, that's a team playing that are in relegation trouble, because look how they're fighting into, they're going straight into tackles. They're working so hard. But no, they're not. They're not going for 50-50s. It's pathetic. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that. Always good crack. Love the show. Cheers, David. Michael says, Paul, your shows have made this season a bit more bearable. I'm glad I can vent frustration and see that others have similar opinions. And that's why I do it, mate. And, I'm not going anywhere now. I absolutely love what I do. My channel is growing day by day, which is fantastic for me. But I love what I do. So, even over the summer, there'll be the European Championships. I'll be covering England on there as well, and doing, match reactions like this, but I'm doing a lot more live streams now as well, because I love getting the fans involved and your comments and everything like that. So it's thank you to you guys really who make my shows. I really do appreciate it. Not a Newcastle fan, Man United, but love the different perspectives. Disappointing result for you because it looked like you had it won, but head up, boys. Keep up the good work, man. By the way, you're keeping SM. I'm not who Who's SM? I hate all the Joe Linton haters on Twitter just giving no reasons, but I stick up for him when he does well, like tonight, bar the end product. We need to stick together as a fan base, not just have a go. You're totally correct in that, Kobe. I couldn't agree with you more. Now, everybody knows I'm not a big fan of Joe Linton. I really aren't. I think he's one of the worst footballers we've had at the club. However, tonight, I thought he was one of our better players. Now, you could look at that two ways. Does that mean that the whole team was actually worse than Joe Linton? You know, under his standards, it could be. But I think he worked so hard tonight, but the end product wasn't there. And like I've said earlier on in the show, if we haven't got an end product, we're going down, because no end product means no goals. And when you're a player, if you've spent that kind of money on a player, you'd expect him to shoot the ball when he gets into the box. And it's just drained from him. It's completely drained from him. Bro, I think you're all going to get relegated from a Chelsea fan. Yeah, we are going to get relegated. We know that more than anybody. Do you think you'll stay up? I always will believe that we'll stay up, but it's getting mighty hard to keep that belief going. I wonder if the off-field staff are flexibly furloughed, which is why the training ground is closed so much. Either that or Bruce is lazy. Both believable, both terrible. I think it's more to do with the fact that Bruce is lazy and he doesn't give a shit. That's what I genuinely believe, that he just does not give a shit. Kobe, what's the point of a striker with no end product when you're in a relegation battle, though? Yeah, we've said that before. Thanks very much, Paul, for that. That's Paul, who donated the Newcastle United shirt, by the way, so thank you very much to him. Top 4 predictions. Man City are going to win the league. I mean, I kind of do a Premier League show on here every now and again just to run through how the Premier League looks. And the last one I did, I think I've always said earlier on this season that Man City just looked a shadow of the team that they used to be. And I didn't predict them for the title at all. And I thought there was, the way they were going early doors, I thought they were actually struggling for top 4. However, they've changed that dramatically and they look outstanding now. So there's no doubt for me that they are going to win the league. They are far, far better than anybody else in this division at the minute. Second, I think Manchester United will get second. I just think that's the way it's going at the minute. I don't think Man United have been anything sensational this season, but it says a lot about, the manager and the players and the club itself when you're not playing brilliant football, but you can still get up to second. Or does that say that the standard in the Premier League hasn't been great this season? It's been a very, very funny, strange season. I think Chelsea will finish third, and I'll go for Leicester City fourth. But, like I said earlier, this season has been so damn strange and so weird with certain results. Anything could change now in the last, 12, 13 games of the season. It could all just turn on its head again. Jose to Newcastle would be a dream. To manage the team is meant or loved, and always has good things to say about Newcastle. Yeah, I mean, is Jose finished or not? You know what I mean? And when we've had so much negative football over the past few years, do we really want a manager coming in like Jose, who we know is not attacking-minded? He's a very defensive-minded manager. Do we want to see that football again, or do we want to see a younger, ambitious, hungrier manager who likes to play attacking football, who wants his teams to score goals, etc.? For me, that's the kind of manager we need at Newcastle now. Great stream, Paul. Thanks very much, Thomas. Trey need a big City win tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, I think City will win tomorrow. And I think Scott Parker will probably know deep down that Manchester City will probably win the game. Now, do I think Fulham can get a result against Man City? Damn right they can. If they can go to Anfield and win, why can't they go to Manchester City? However, Manchester City are playing so well at the minute that they just look untouchable. They didn't play very well in the Manchester derby, but they bounced back and thrashed Southampton during the week, and they can easily do that again at the weekend against Fulham. But like I said earlier, this will not be Scott Parker's win or bust game for him. He'll be looking at other matches where the team can pick points up more than Manchester City. The Man City game tomorrow for Fulham is not going to define their season. It's not going to get them relegated. So it's if he gets anything out of that game, that's a bonus, I think. And that's the way Scott Parker will be looking at it. So if they get a point or they get 3 points, it'll be a massive bonus for Fulham. But he'll be probably realistically looking at other games. And you know how difficult the run-ins are for Brighton and Newcastle United. And he knows how well Fulham are playing because he's got the players on board. And that's the difference. The players believe in their manager at Fulham, and ours simply don't. So that's the difference for me. Paul says, great stream, mate. All the best. Thanks, buddy. We're going in one direction with Clampett in charge. Crap at every department of the game. Yep. Who was it in Newcastle? We've read that one out. Brighton is a must-win for Steve Bruce, but it will be a do-not-lose game. And this is my worry, that we go into the Brighton game with, again, a defensive-minded manager who is going to just sit back and let Brighton come on to us and say, right, we're going to hold out for a draw. We're going to go down there not to lose the game. And when we go down to places like Brighton with that kind of mentality, that will get us nothing. I guarantee you that will get us nothing from the game. So we need to try a bit different and actually go for it. Play some attacking players, take the shackles off them and let them attack. At least we have the Four Horsemen of the Toon coming up soon. Yes, Four Horsemen of the Toon will be back on Monday night at 8 o'clock. So do tune in for that, because that is going to be very explosive. But also, you know what we're like on that show. You know, we'll be serious about the Newcastle situation for a while, but we all need such a good laugh at these times of watching dross football and COVID and all of that. So we always try to make people laugh on that show as well. So do tune into that one at 8 o'clock on Monday night. It's there now on YouTube if you want to set a reminder, just so you know, and don't forget, because the ratings for that show, the viewing figures are going up massively. So it's again, thanks to you guys, that show's really taken off and is as popular as it is. Eddie Howe would be great. Yeah, again, I don't know whether they bring Eddie Howe in now to try and keep us in the Premier League. I think that would be a mistake. I don't think Eddie Howe would fancy that anyway. He'd probably want to see where Newcastle finish up before he decide to take the job. Cheers for the stream, lad. Cheers, Jake. Thanks for taking part, buddy. Can't see you losing to Brighton because of the way you set up, but win, ? Yeah, and that's the worry. That's the worry. You're going down to Brighton, and it's all about the way Steve Bruce is going to set up and the mentality that he sends the players out with. Like I said before, send them out feeling 10 foot high, big them up to the rafters in the press conferences. You know, say, we're going down to win. We're going to put on a performance for the fans, and we are going to prove that we want to get this club out the relegation zone. 8 days until the next game. Do you think that's enough time for Bruce to get his tactics across? Well, he's had 18 months, to be honest with you, and he's still not done it. He's still an inept twat as far as I'm concerned. He's just not good enough, full stop. Valerie says, catch him Monday night, Paul. Great. Good to have you there, Valerie. Crawford Al Mohammadi was pursuits of battle on the right backs tonight, perhaps the two worst ever right side defenders to darken the league doors, and both signed by Steve Bruce. We know that Steve Bruce, you know, El Mohammadi was a journeyman. He used to go wherever Steve Bruce went. And you know, luckily for us, he hasn't ended up at Newcastle. Four Horsemen cheered me up after the West Brom game. Looking forward to Mondays now. Cheers, Michael. That's what we aim to do. What position would you invest in the summer, says Jordan? Any bloody position. I think goalkeeper we're covered with Dubravka. Do I think Darlow will stay? Probably not. I think in reality, Darlow deserves to be in a team where he's going to be first choice. Now, whether that be in the Premier League or Championship, I don't know. He's certainly proved himself this season in the Premier League, and I think it'll be very unfair for a goalkeeper of Carl Darlow's quality to be out all season sitting on his arse. Dubravka, though, for me, is our number one. He's been very assured the last couple of games. Was a bit floppy on his first game back, but that was expected. You know, he took a big wrath from Steve Bruce when he shouldn't have done. Bruce threw him under the bus, but he's been brilliant since then. 8 days till next game means 3 or 4 days of training. Probably just the 3, Michael, to be honest. And that's the way Steve Bruce works. It'll probably just be the 3 days. And I don't know what to get to work on in that 3 days. And he can't come on and say that, you know, the players, you know, we want to reserve the fitness and stuff like that, because it doesn't work like that. You know, you need to have them, yes, do a couple of intense training days, but the rest of the time, why not work on set pieces and different tactics, different scenarios of a match? You don't have to run the balls off them for each training session. But then again, is he actually doing any running the balls off them at the minute? Because it seems like every time we lose or draw, he just turns around and says, right, have the Monday off, lads, or have the weekend off. There you go. You deserve it. I see no benching Richie, as he will not come on. What's the point? Have Elliot Anderson or Matty Longstaff there just for options and for Anderson first team experience. Yeah, I'm pleased you said that, Corby, because that's my view. I think Steve Bruce is such an arrogant arse, right, that he's going to keep Matt Ritchie on the substitutes bench for the rest of the season and just not bother with him. Just absolutely not bother with him and try to prove a point to Matt Ritchie that I'm the kingpin here, I'm the manager, and I make the decisions, and you, son, can sit on your arse. Because that's the type of prat that he is. You know, and to be honest, the players will be on Matt Ritchie's side, because Matt Ritchie's a very popular player in that dressing room, and he will always have the support of the players. 3 days, wow, that's really tough. Exactly. I would do 3 days training, and even with my illness, I'd do 3 days training for 50 grand a week, no doubt about it. And if that meant going into a wheelchair by the time I'm 60 or whatever it is, I'd do it for that kind of money. Jesus, honestly, it's incredible, really. But hey, what happened to Sean Longstaff? United wanted him 2 years ago. He got a bad injury, and he's never really looked like the player he was under Rafa before he got the injury. However, we know that there's stuff going on in the background with the Longstaffs. Steve Bruce came out in his press conference, said there's no issue with them, especially Matty. He's not in the team at the minute. He's got his way back. He's done nothing wrong. That is just a complete lie from Steve Bruce, because Matt Longstaff has done nothing wrong. There's been definitely a falling out between the brothers. Now, I'm not going to say any more than that, but, it's just a shame, because I believe Sean can play a number 10 role. And, I would love to just Steve Bruce to turn around to Sean Longstaff and say, right, son, go at it. Play a number 10 role, have that free role in front of or just on the edge of the box, and actually go for it. Show me what you can do. But Steve Bruce does not do that to Newcastle players. He doesn't give them any belief at all, and especially the youngsters. Elliot Anderson, he was bigging up in the press, a couple of weeks ago, never been seen since. Doesn't give them an opportunity at all. And Elliot Anderson is a far better option up front than some of them at the minute. Supposedly Richie had said bye to the team by thinking he was leaving until the transfer was blocked. Yeah, that's when it all started with Matt Ritchie. That's when it all started going downhill. Everybody knew that he was on the verge of going back to Bournemouth. And I even said during the transfer window that I wished him well, because he's been a fantastic servant for Newcastle United. And it's such a shame that what's happened to him in the last couple of weeks or months. And just since the transfer window, he's never been in favour. Geordie, evening, Paul. 2 wins in 90 matches, ridiculous. Bruce has to be shown the door. Yep, without a doubt. Last few comments before the end of the show. Villa fan here. Did you think the draw was a fair result? We were really poor and have been in the past few games. I think you missed Jack Grealish, to be honest, Thomas. I think he makes that team tick. From what I've seen of Aston Villa anyway, he makes the team tick. He drives them forward. And when he's not in the team, they struggle a little bit. But, as for a fair result, a draw, I don't know, because you guys scored, and anybody could turn around and say, well, Villa deserved to win that. They had more desire than Newcastle to win the game. But I think at the end of the day, it was a pretty dull game of football, to be honest, with two teams who aren't playing very well at the minute. Where was James Jones tonight? Didn't see him on the sidelines. I presume he was up in the stands again. Who's more talented, Matty or Sean? The two different players, to be honest, Jordan. I think Sean's more of a forward-thinking midfielder, and Matty's more of a defensively-minded one. Just about every player has been played out of position this season. Wouldn't surprise me if Bruce plays Dubravka as a false nine. Yeah, or Joel Linton in defence, Tonight's result sums up our whole season, Bruce out. And John says, would you take Lampard? I'd take Lampard in a heartbeat, but the problem is we have Mike Ashley still running the club, and I don't think he'd come to work for Mike Ashley. But anyway, guys, that's the end of the show. I want to take this opportunity to thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. I've had fantastic viewing figures for the show again. It's been great having your input, and pretty much everybody's agreed tonight. There's been no sort of disagreements about certain players. I think everybody's on board with the fact that we're in big, big trouble, and the Brighton game next week is huge. It doesn't get any bigger than that. And then, of course, we've got the international break. So realistically, we should be going all out, guns blazing, to try and get 3 points next week against Brighton. I will be releasing a video tomorrow, which will be basically just an overview of the match, just a review of it, and of course player ratings, because obviously I like to do the player ratings videos now as well, so I'll be doing them tomorrow as well. So do keep an eye out for the videos coming out, and that's it. I want to take this opportunity to thank you again. Try and enjoy your weekend. I know it's been a bit of a dull one to start the weekend with, but hey, you don't expect anything else from Newcastle. It's just abysmal at the minute, really, isn't it? But we've got to try and keep smiling, try and stay positive, and try and believe that there is some sort of light at the end of the tunnel. But like I said, keep an eye out for the video tomorrow, and of course I'll be back on Monday night with Barry, with John, and with Peter for the Four Horsemen of the Toon. So we'll try and cheer people up on that show, I'm sure. But in the meantime, guys, thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend, and it's good night from me.
Be strong.